Hello, this is Ben Bishop with Maintenance Technology Systems. Today I'm going to give an overview for how to use the balance program, what each of the buttons do, and how you can use it more effectively in your everyday use. First thing we need to do, we open our VBox3 program. Should see something like this. Open up the Tools button right here in the bottom left-hand corner. You open up to this page, and in the center of this page, you have the Balance Program button. You open that up, and that gets you to the Balance Program. Just kind of going through it really quick for what each field is doing. We have just kind of the overview for all the different buttons are found in this portion of the screen, and everything you're going to be doing will be done here, and your results will be shown on the other 4 areas. So just going over these other 4 areas, this first one in the top right are the balance results by bearing. So there are 2 columns for each bearing. The first column will be the reference run, and the second column will be a trial run. So you'll be able to see on this bar graph how it initially starts and the changes you're able to make to get it closer to being within balance. And again, this is for however many bearings you are doing. If you are doing a single bearing balance or single plane with 1 bearing, it will just fill in this first column of bearing 1. If you have more, it will fill in the appropriate amounts. The graph just below it is the polar graph that will show where the unbalance is and help you visualize what's going on a little bit more. You'll be able to see this a lot better in the demonstration videos that will follow for how to actually use the balance program for a single plane and dual plane balance. So look out for those. We see the Mills peak-to-peak graph and the tachometer graph. So the Mills peak-to-peak will show you kind of a spectrum of where the unbalance is happening, how high that is, and that will just show up as you are doing this. And the tachometer will give you the results for how steady your tachometer is reading the light sensor. And that will, once this is a very steady, rhythmical graph, you will be able to have a steady point on your polar graph. So you'll be able to see that in the demonstration videos again. You can also see here you have the bearing to display. You can change that here to whichever bearing you are looking at. Or if you are in the measure tab, you will be able to change that here as well. The next part, we'll talk about some of these buttons that you find. We have the balance configuration column. This goes over the settings that you're going to use. So the first setting is the vibration transducer type and units. So the default is the displacement acceleration transducer. We also have displacement proximity, velocity acceleration, velocity transducer, and acceleration accelerometer. So those are the different types you can do. You have the balance methods. So we have single plane 1 bearing, single plane 2 bearings, 2 plane balance, 2 bearings, multiple planes, and a 3-run balance. So those are the different balance methods that we have. We have the sensor type. If you have just a single axis sensor, leave it as is. If you have a triaxial sensor with a LEMO plug, you can just plug that into the top of the VBox3. Or if you have the BNC connectors, connect those in on the side. The balance quality is the standard you are trying to balance it down to. So depending on which option you pick, the standards will change. There will be a little circle that shows the standards that you are balancing to. And once your balance, it falls within that circle, you'll get a smiley face up here next to this polar chart, and it will show that. And again, just different settings for what you're balancing. There's a higher reciprocation machines, standard industrial machines, turbines and machine tools, grinding machines and spindles. Depending on what you're balancing, they have different standards. So I'm going to keep it on standard industrial. The next column is the sensor setup by bearing. So if you have one sensor, it's going to default to a horizontal setup. There is also a vertical setup or an axial setup, and you can just select those, and this will automatically change to reflect the appropriate number of sensors. And this is just the axis you are doing. I'm going to go back to this. We also have the machine configuration column. So as we are balancing, we can change whether we want to balance in degrees, which would leave it like this, or change to blades and get a default 6-blade system here. And we can change that to however many blades we have, and it will automatically update and help depending on what you are trying to balance with. There's also an offset tape from blade number. So if we have our tape set here and our blade is actually set about here, we can increase this by increments of 5 degrees to get our tape to line up with our bearing. And that will go up and down. Get that back to 0. And then if we have more than one bearing, we'll be able to change that here. Now to advance to the next one, oops, let me get this back down to 1. We can either start collecting data that will automatically advance us to the measure tab, or you can simply click on it. Again, we have the select bearing. If you're balancing with more than one bearing, you can see those changes here. You can see from our setup, we have horizontal still highlighted. So that will show as we get going that for bearing number 1, we have, and we're in the reference run here, it will fill in the amplitude and phase boxes here. If we had all 3 bearings or all 3 axes selected, it would fill in the amplitude and phase for bearing 1 here. So that's what those are. If we were to hit start collecting data, we stop collecting data with the same button once we are satisfied with the results. My results will not populate because I don't have a machine running, and it will give me funky numbers. So when you're done, just hit save and your numbers will populate here. We can see our frowny face. We have not met satisfactory with the balance. But when we hit start, we have this cancel data collection button that appears. If you were to start collecting data in the wrong place, say we accidentally did a reference run again when we meant to do a trial run, we can cancel the data collection. It will reload the reference numbers, and then we can advance to the trial run and take data again. There is the restart average. If you are collecting data and you're not being able to consistently hit your reflective tape with the laser, to restart the average, to essentially restart the readings, you hit that and that will restart this number, iterating from 0, and it will better hone in your tachometer reading to get a better reading here. As we are balancing, we are going to put trial weights on here. You just click in the field. We'll say the weight is 1, and then we go to blade number. Let's say we put it on blade 2, and then once we have those readings, we can advance to the solution tab. We'll see the difference on the polar plot, and we will have the solution here. This will be in degrees because we're in blade mode, and this will be the solution for the blade. So that will tell you where to go and how to balance it, what it recommends. If you are using the remove trial weight method, you keep it as is. If you are keeping the trial weight on there, you select this and that will affect your solution. Generally, we remove the trial weight and add the solution weight to where it needs to be. And once you have the solution, if you are satisfied enough, you can advance to the trim final reading and take another set of data, or you can iterate back to the measure field, take another reading here, and change your trial weight to what the solution said and what you're able to put on, and iterate from there to the solution. And then once you are satisfied with that, you move on to the trim final. This is just like the measure tab. it will show you the amplitude and phase, and then you move on to the trim solution. Once you have that, you should be getting a smiley face here, and you should be able to save your readings as you want it. And then you advance to the tools. Here on the left, we can see save balance job, recall balance job, report, and reset clear. If we are going to come back to balance this machine at a later date, whether that is when it gets out of balance or for whatever reason, we can save and have the previous work done for this particular fan or whatever we're balancing. So we can save it here. We can recall that balance job by hitting this button. As long as we've got it saved somewhere, that's where we go. Once we are satisfied with our report, with how everything looks in our balance job, we press the report button. We can enter in the machine ID, save it, where all of this will be populated with all of the different things that we have been able to do. Then we hit save continue, and we go to our MTS folder, balance jobs, and put the name of the file in here. File 1, hit OK, and that will save this PDF so you have a record of the balance job. Then you hit exit, and the balance job, you might have to go in and re-click on it, but it will pop this back up, get this right back here. When you are all done, you can reset clear the balance job. That will remove all data, and you'll be able to move on to the next machine. I'm going to hit that, and we have everything set up and ready to go again. It defaults back to those previous settings. The last thing in the Tools tab is the sensor sensitivity. It's defaulted to 100 millivolts, and that is generally what we are working with. You can change that if you need to. And the last thing you need to talk about is this little question mark here. This is a help tab for whatever tab you are in. So if you're in trim solution and you need help understanding what's going on, click on that and it will help you understand what's going on in that tab. If you go to the measure or the setup, it will go and give you a little guide for each of those individual tabs. So that is how you use the balance program, the different buttons you can press, how you use it. Be sure to look up our next video for how to do a single plane and dual plane balance. That is very helpful. I go through and I show what each of these looks like as you are going through, and you can also see the weights that I am adding to my balance setup, and it is really helpful. So I hope this helps, and if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you and have a good day.